News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet, 4 million unique users, syndicated by CRN Digital Talk Radio to an additional 12 million households, available on demand all over the place. And I remind you to go to reportergary.com, check it early and often, like voting in Chicago, for stories that you may or may not see, hear, or read in the mainstream media. Let's get to the calls about all of the above: the abortion, the economy, the spend, or invest that the president is talking about, the cut that the Republicans are talking about. There's going to be some sitting across the aisle and singing Kumbaya in this new age of the Republicans and Democrats getting along in Congress, but I don't think when it comes to the vote they're going to get along at all, because they have different philosophies when it comes to how to deal with the economy. And I guess this is where we see, ladies and gentlemen, the dichotomy in Washington. I've been saying there's very little difference between the Democrats and the Republicans in many respects, and I have anecdotally brought examples to support that case. But I think when it comes to dealing with the economy, it is safe to say that the economics that are embraced by the president, he believes we need to spend more. He believes we need to tax the rich more. He believes that had we not conducted all these bailouts, the country would be worse economically than it is today. And then you have the Republicans saying we are basically bankrupting our children's and our grandchildren's future by not being good stewards of our fiscal well-being, and we need to cut back. We are printing money that has no backing to it, and we are putting it out there, and so the money is relatively valueless, and we need to be going in an absolutely opposite direction. And I can, as a non-economist, as a guy who has trouble balancing his checkbook, when I listen to both sides make a degree of sense to me. Avi Perry, who hosts a show here tonight on the Paltalk News Network, welcome to News Talk Online on the Paltalk News Network.
Thank you, Gary. I hope that you let me address most of the points that you mentioned.
Next caller. Kidding.
I know that. Let me address Rahm Emanuel first. I think it will be Chicago's loss if he is disqualified. He will make a terrific mayor, and he is extremely talented person and a person who gets things done. So although I disagreed with a lot of what he was doing, I still believe that he's the right person for Chicago. The reason for disqualifying him, whether it's the law or whether the judges over there found it to be the law, is ridiculous. Even today, when we look at African Americans in the United States, we call them African Americans. In other words, they are from Africa. When we look at Italian Americans, we call them Italian Americans, or sometimes we even forget the part that says American. We just say Italians. Rahm Emanuel was a congressman from Chicago. He lived in Chicago most of his life. He's a Chicagoan. So he took a leave of absence, like a visiting professorship that people on universities take once in a while. He was out for 2 years, and now they disqualify him. This is ridiculous. He is a Chicagoan. He is a guy from Chicago. He talks like a person from Chicago, and we all know that he lived there most of his life. That's one. The other thing I wanted to address is the abortion issue. I haven't done a lot of research on it, so what I'm going to say now may not be totally true, but and people may challenge it with facts. However, I have the impression that most people who object, who fight the notion of abortion, legal abortion, are the same people who also are vehemently against health care for most people in America. Or they are driven by religious beliefs mostly. That's my impression. And if that's the case, then they care about the unborn life, but they don't care about the born life because they are totally against health care for people who cannot afford it. And at the same time, they do a lot of these kind of things only because they are driven by religious beliefs that obviously people who are not religious, just like myself, look at it as brainwashed people. So this is the kind of people, and I am sure that there are going to be people who disagree with me on that part. Now, regarding the State of the Union tomorrow, where the Republicans are saying cut, 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 and Obama is saying spend, 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 on this particular part, I side with Obama. I think that, first of all, printing money when you have high unemployment does not create inflation because you have a lot of unused or idle resources, and printing money just put them back into the workforce. It doesn't create inflation. We have, this is a fact, there's no inflation in the United States. And so the notion that printing more money reduces the value of money is incorrect at time of deflationary forces and at time of high unemployment. It is correct, though, when you have full employment. But people are confused. People who don't understand economics are confused. They don't understand that sometimes a certain policy is correct under certain conditions and it is incorrect under other conditions. So I side with Obama. I think he's doing the right thing. I think the Republicans are using Great Depression, Herbert Hoover's policies, and if they were in charge instead of Obama at this time, we would have looked at a Great Depression rather than a recovery. Thank you. Thanks.
What's interesting, it's interesting what you said, Avi, about different tactics at different times, and it caused me to stop and reflect on the times that I've been sailing. And sometimes you tack, and sometimes you have the spinnaker out, and you do not sail exactly the same way every time you go out, or even during any given sail. You have to adjust to the conditions with which you are faced.
This is a good metaphor, right?
Thank you. I appreciate that, Avi. What do you got on your show today, by the way?
Oh, I would like to spend time talking about the state of brainwashing in the wake of the Tucson massacre.
Wow, that's going to be a good one. And what time is that, Av?
That will be at 7 p.m., and I hope that most of your audience will come back and watch me.
Oh, they probably won't leave. They'll stick around for the aftermath from 6 to 7 New York time, and then I'm sure they want to catch your show. Thanks, Avi. Let's go to Karen in the United Kingdom. Karen, welcome to News Talk Online on the Paltalk News Network.
Thanks again, Gary. I'm sorry that Carol left, actually. There was one more question I wanted to ask her. So I'm going to put it to the room now. They wanted a third to complete the family, and they conceived, and when they went for the scan, they found out they were having twins. But they didn't want twins. They only wanted one more child. So they aborted one of them. They aborted one of those babies. Now, I know that people who support abortion will refer to this as a fetus. At that point, which one was the fetus and which one was the baby?
See, I hadn't heard that story, but I did hear the story where they wanted a boy, and they have had 3 girls, and the ultrasound showed that it was a girl, and so they aborted the child because they didn't like the gender. Um, I personally don't have an answer to your question. And Carol probably would have had an answer to the question. I thought that they would only do an abortion of one twin if, like, it was, the baby was
They were perfectly healthy, Gary. Two perfectly healthy babies, but it was because they didn't want two. They wanted one baby because it would mean that their nice little life would be, not quite as nice, because they would need a little extra money to look after one more child.
So based on the anecdotal example that you give us,
it's true, Gary. This is a true story. This is a true
story.
story.
I didn't say that it wasn't true. I said based on the anecdotal story that you gave us, are you opposed to abortion under all circumstances?
As I said, a woman's life is in danger. If is so badly handicapped, deformed in some way that it would have no life or no quality of life, or if it is the result of rape. All really heart-rending circumstances. But if it's because a woman has forgotten to take the pill, or if she can't be bothered, if they're using it as birth control, well, no. There's a 16-year-old girl in this country. She's 16. She's had 3 abortions.
Well, as we had this discussion with Carole King, nobody brought up the issue of the responsibility of the male partner in these liaisons. It seems that the onus is always on the woman, and I would just like to suggest that the man has a responsibility here as well. I mean, why someone is not, if they are not in a committed relationship and attempting to have a child, why that individual is not wearing a condom to protect himself and protect his partner from sexually transmitted diseases. Sylvia in New York, welcome back to News Talk Online on the Paltalk News Network.
Thank you, Gary. I want to respond to Karen. First of all, we have a saying in this country. I should say that the conservatives have a saying in this country, and the saying is, if you can't feed them, don't breed them. Now, apparently, this family could only support 3 children. Therefore, it was their decision to know what the quality of life was going to be for their family.
Sylvia,
to be honest
with
you,
just say, it wasn't they couldn't afford to have 4. They were both working. They were both professionals. They could well afford to have 4, but they didn't want to get rid of the little extras, the 2 nice cars and things like that. So they chose to kill one of the babies.
But that was their decision. That was their decision. The extras, apparently, were important to the family as a whole, to the family's well-being as a whole. That's important. Now, to be honest with you, Karen, I wouldn't have done it. Okay, if I had twins, I wouldn't have said, well, I only wanted one, so take out the second. No, I couldn't have done that. I would have born the children.
You talked about
you know what, Sylvia and Karen, stick around. I'm sure that we're going to be very active in the aftermath. And Andy, Pie and Ice Cream, and Blue Star, stick around as well. Also, don't forget, at 7 o'clock New York time, Avi Perry's show. I'll be back at 5 o'clock New York time tomorrow for another edition of News Talk Online on the Paltalk News Network. Until then, peace out.